How lavish a lifestyle would you lead if you were the richest man on earth?
Good question. Being rich is great, at least how we hear everyone else talk about it.
Money, 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 must be funny in the rich man's world.
I wanna be a billionaire so freaking bad.
Money trees is the perfect place for shade, and that's just how I feel now.
American culture is fundamentally built on this idea of capitalism. Get rich or die trying. There are those select few who work their way into the exclusive club of the 1%. Or, luckier yet, who are born into it. And then there's the rest of us. And that's where the focus is now. From Washington to the tiniest counties in the nation's early voting states, there's a lot of talk about the massive divide between the haves and the have-nots in America. That discussion gives way to an obvious question about America's financial systems. How do we make them fair, and for who? This seems like a good place to start. Tax the rich is not a new proposal, but the people pushing this idea here aren't exactly the plan's most obvious backers. They're called the Patriotic Millionaires, a group of about 200 people with a combined net worth in the billions, who literally want to put their money where their mouth is. Karen Stewart is one of them. She's a former real estate broker and investment advisor who made her millions by learning the system and working within it. She didn't grow up with money. Her dad wore a hard hat and worked in a refinery in Southern California. But she remembers those as days when a union guy could support a family and buy a modest home on his earnings.
My sense is we are really at a cusp. We better get our act together, because my sense is that the lack of fairness and opportunity is growing. I feel like it's exploitative of them, unnecessary for me to get away with that, and I want to pay my fair share. Sounds odd.
Well, it does sound odd.
But why should the folks with the money not pay?
Former BlackRock executive and now chair of the Patriotic Millionaires, Morris Pearl, agrees.
I think being rich is great. I recommend that everyone be rich. That's fine. But I recommend that we don't have a tax system that's skewed to make the rich people get even richer and richer and richer and richer by taking money from the poor people and giving them a smaller and smaller and smaller piece of the pie every year.
Listen closely, and you could almost mistake the conversations happening here at the group's D.C. gathering with the conversations happening here on the campaign trail.
We should definitely, and we can do this as long as we kind of change some of those Republican tax cuts.
I want to roll back the worst excesses of that Trump tax cut.
Trump's tax plan, as you all know, provides 83% of its benefits to the top 1%.
It's not just candidates, though. About 6 in 10 voters already think the rich are paying too little in taxes. I met some of them here in South Carolina, just outside of Charleston. We're at an event for Senator Elizabeth Warren.
The taxes are not high enough for the rich. I feel like the rich owe so much in our country today that I feel like it's not trickling down to where it needs to go down.
Because when Elizabeth Warren specifically talks about this idea, she talks about the system being rigged in favor of the wealthy and well-connected, is the phrase that she uses. Do you feel that that's true?
Yes, I believe there are some tax laws and accounting laws that are specifically designed to make sure that you keep wealth where it is.
I've proposed a wealth tax. That's a tax on great fortunes in this country.
Senator Warren has a very specific plan for taxing wealth. She wants to add an extra 2% tax on assets for people with a net worth above $50 million. And it's a 3% tax on people worth more than $1 billion. It actually polls really well across the ideological spectrum. Warren mentions this basically everywhere she campaigns. She calls it her ultra-millionaires tax.
By the way, just so you understand the structure, anybody in here own a home? Yeah, you've been paying a wealth tax every year. It's just called a property tax. The only thing I want to do differently is I want to say for that really thin slice at the top, the property tax is not only the real estate, it's also the yachts, the diamonds, and the Rembrandts. We just want to include all of it in there. You have one of these great fortunes in America. Good for you. Put 2 cents back in.
But what does it even mean to tax wealth? Nora Lachese works for Resource Generation. It's a new group that melds economic wokeness with the know-how to fix the inequalities they see in the system. So a wealth tax means taxing what specifically?
So a wealth tax means, and I will let the policy experts do their work, but as I understand it, a wealth tax means taxing the assets that you currently have in the bank or invested in the stock market.
And those aren't being taxed at all right now?
Right now there are capital gains taxes, but our tax code is filled with loopholes that millionaires and billionaires are scamming on.
If not scamming, at the very least they're using the system to their advantage.
So, wealthy folks know there's a whole industry that tells us how to handle our money, and I was one of them. I was a certified financial planner. I learned it and I said, holy Moses, this isn't fair.
So what about the people who might hear what you're saying and think, well, that's socialism?
Look, I mean, socialism just means some kind of society working for people's benefit. You know, there is no such thing as pure capitalism or pure socialism. Capitalists depend on government, property rights, courts, bankruptcy laws.
And the bank robbers used to say, I rob the banks because that's where the money is. And the average working person doesn't have the capacity to pay a whole lot more. Housing, medical care, college education, child care, they don't have the extra cash, but we do. And some of us are willing to pay it, and I'm willing to pay it, but I've been told, well, then just send a check to the government.
Well, why not?
Well, I could, but they should too. We should be asked to. Do not feel sorry for us. We will still be fine, and the country will be better off.
Hey, NBC News fans, thanks for checking out our YouTube channel. Subscribe by clicking on that button down here, and click on any of the videos over here to watch the latest interviews, show highlights, and digital exclusives. Thanks for watching.